Servus Männer, it's Red Pill Germany again. Today is the second round of the Turkish presidential elections. That means that the incumbent, Mr. Erdoğan, has to go to round 2 now against the challenger, Mr. Kemal Kılıçdaroğlu. In today's presentation, I want to talk about this mainly from a German perspective, what that means for us in Europe, in Germany, because we are not just a US satellite state. No, we are also a colony of, for example, Turkish people. We're a colony of Turkey in many places, in many cities in Germany. That becomes very obvious when you walk through the streets during, well, any time of the day practically. So in that sense, the colony Germany takes a natural interest in the ongoing political affairs in the homeland of the colonists. And there were also some incidents in Germany around this election. Many Turkish people in Germany are able to vote and they already cast their votes. And well, I want to talk about how that went down in Germany. But first of all, let's talk about round 1. In round 1, there was at the same time the parliamentary elections, and there the alliance around the AKP, the Justice and Progress Party of Mr. Erdoğan, they secured a majority of seats, 600 seats in total. They have over 300. The AKP is not alone in this alliance, of course, but they are the biggest bloc. So in that sense, Erdoğan's group or parliamentary alliance, we would call it a faction or a coalition or something like that, they secured the majority. So that is safe. But under Erdoğan's rule, Turkey was formed into somewhat more of a presidential system. So that means the president has more power. That is, of course, complete coincidence that happened at the time when Erdoğan became the president. But, well, that means the president is very important, maybe more so than the parliament, really. And in the presidential election, in the round 1 that was going on at the same time a couple of weeks ago, well, Mr. Erdoğan got the most votes, but he didn't get over 50%. And in that system they have in Turkey, that means they need to go to round 2, and there is a runoff election now between Erdoğan and Kılıçdaroğlu. And as far as I can tell here, Mr. Erdoğan is also leading in the polls. But many people wrote a lot about this election, especially because there was a natural disaster recently that was very big, and it caused a lot of destruction. Many people criticized Erdoğan's party, the AKP, for not organizing the rescue mission very well. I talked about that in a video that I linked there. Check it out if you're interested in that. And also, I talked a lot about inflation in Turkey. For a long time already, the inflation rate in Turkey is off the charts. I think last year it reached 80%, not 8%, 80%. Absolutely insane. Wages are rising, that is true, but I think the prices are rising even faster. So that means the equivalent buying power of people who work in the industry, for example, that is getting smaller and smaller. They don't trust their own currency anymore. They're buying gold for years already, so they don't really trust the Turkish lira that much anymore. People who are at a fixed income always face problems, of course, and also youth unemployment is a real issue there. So in short, there are a lot of reasons why people in Turkey might have some grievances with the current government and with the current president, and maybe it is time now that someone else gets into power. But, well, according to the polls, somehow, despite of all that, despite of sky-high inflation, unemployment, and the government not handling this current crisis very well, and I mean by that also the natural disaster we had. Despite of all that, Mr. Erdoğan is still favored in this election today, and the results should be in already later this night. So what is really the choice that Turkey has right now? You know that Mr. Erdoğan has this very exotic idea about economics and interest rates and inflation. He says that inflation will go down when he cuts interest rates. That is, well, let's just say not the majority consensus opinion among economists, but well, that's Erdoğan's opinion. And at least according to what I have heard under Kılıçdaroğlu, Turkey would return to a more orthodox monetary policy. But what about the situation with the irregular travelers? There are more than 3 million of them, most of them from Syria, living in Turkey. And I think many of them maybe are working there for very low wages, who knows? Mr. Erdoğan has welcomed them, and also Turkey has a lot of special operations in Syria, in the north there, if you know what I mean. And also you know that Mr. Erdoğan has used them in order to pressure the European Union. He said, if you don't do as I say, I just send them all your way, into Greece, for example. Now, especially from my European perspective, Mr. Kılıçdaroğlu said something very interesting. He said, if I become president, I will send all these Syrians straight home. And I hope by home he really means Syria and not Germany. And this already tells you that Kılıçdaroğlu is not some social democrat leftist and Erdoğan is basically Trump. No. The challenger, despite of him being an Alevi, so not a Sunni Muslim, he says he is a Turkish nationalist. And he is really fishing for right-wing nationalist votes here by promising to send home those irregular travelers. Now that is something that I find really interesting. Now I want to talk a little bit about Germany. You know, there are many Turkish people living in Europe and especially in Germany, but the biggest colony they have, of course, in North Rhine-Westphalia. And it is really a historic constant that Turkish people in Germany vote in favor of Erdoğan much more as compared to Turks in Turkey, actually. We always joke that it is kind of unfair that they are really a pillar of Erdoğan's rule and they are a safe voter reservoir for the AKP party, but they don't really have to live under the consequences. Like, they have relative price stability here in Germany and they have good jobs, insurance, whatsoever. But at home, they really like the idea of Erdoğan ruling and, well, doing what he has done in the last years. But that does not mean that all of them like Erdoğan, of course. There was an incident recently in Stuttgart. There was an altercation between 3 members of a subcontractor of Mercedes-Benz there. And let's just say it was fatal for 2 of them. 2 of them were pro-Erdoğan, and let's just say the person that was not pro-Erdoğan made sure that the other 2 don't survive the day. But the narrative that foreigners bring with them their foreign conflicts to Germany is just a right-wing conspiracy theory, of course. Please do not believe any of that nonsense. And then there was an interesting story from Nuremberg in Franconia, northern Bavaria. There the city said that they will open actual voting booths where Turks can then cast their votes in this foreign election here in Germany. Well, the normal way it works is that they have to go to the consulate and they have to apply for mail-in voting or something like that. And they do that. But the city of Nuremberg thought it would be a great idea to just let them vote normally, without mail-in voting and organize that somehow. Well, what could possibly go wrong there, huh? After the story leaked and some public outrage, the city of Nuremberg had to backpedal and the whole plan was disregarded, as far as I have read at least. But that really shows to you how many places in Germany are already really firmly under the control of these global colonists here in Germany. The idea in many people's minds, including the city administration of Nuremberg, is that this is not Germany, this is not a country, this is just some kind of area where different people live and, we all pay taxes and we kind of have to negotiate every day how we want to live together. But it's not Germany, really. It's just some kind of global open area business zone kind of thing. Really weird. Alright, so that is my quick summary, my little outlook on today's election in Turkey. You see that Germany, Europe is already affected by that, depending on who wins. Because the question is obvious, like if Kılıçdaroğlu really wins, if he really sends home all these world travelers to Syria again, well, wouldn't the question then arise, wait, if he does that and they live there perfectly well now, why shouldn't we do that? Now, seriously, why shouldn't we send all these travelers back to their countries when the fighting there has stopped ages ago and it is like it was before? It might not be the same as in Germany, you know, the welfare level might not be comparable to Germany, but it's still their country and they can go back and live there just the way they did before. So that is the aspect of today's election that I am most curious about, of course, but we will see if there will be a clear result, if both parties or both contenders accept the outcome, or if there are any signs of wrongdoing. So far, international observers say that in Turkey, the election is actually fair, or the first round was very fair. There was no sign of major wrongdoing there. However, maybe the same cannot be said about millions of Turkish voters in Europe. Maybe that is not checked as well, and maybe there is some shady business going on here in Europe with these foreign mail-in votes. Who knows? In case something interesting happens, maybe I give a little update. Enjoy the rest of your day. Servus, Kameraden.